The following is a rebroadcast of the 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. Be sure to join Doug Brown and Dan Murphy on Saturday, October 9th for a brand new season of Stars and Strikes Doubles. Now at its new time, Saturdays at noon.
For the first time in the second annual Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, the team of Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn had to use a new strategy in last week's semifinal match against Brian Fuller and Steve Vadney. In their first 3 wins, Godzyk and Flynn had trailed after only 4 of the 90 boxes they had rolled. Last week, after trailing for almost the entire match, they came to the last 6 boxes down by 8 and hoping for some answers.
Chance for Chuck to take the lead if he was to take these 3 pins out.
And there it is. Right hand! Oh my word! Oh, we'll have to get another look at that one. That was a very light hit, and it turned into a strike. Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn have come from the bottom with 4 straight wins. Today, they roll in the championship match against top seeds Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. Welcome to the finals of the 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. Hi everybody, Championship Week continues here on Stars and Strikes Doubles, the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, our second annual doubles tournament. We're glad that you could join us and be with us here at the Londonderry Bowling Center. I'm Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. We've got a team that's won 4 matches in a row already, and today they'll go against a team that has been waiting for several months for this chance to defend the number 1 spot.
They've been here so long, it seems like they won 16 in a row, but 4 in a row looking for 5. It's going to be a tough challenge. Great team, top-seeded team. They qualified way back last year, one of the second team to qualify for the Tournament of Champions.
All right, let's meet the 2 teams. First of all, our number 5 seeds. They've won 4 weeks in a row. From Manchester, New Hampshire, Chuck Godzyk. His partner from Bradford, Massachusetts, Peter Flynn.
Okay, Chuck comes in averaging 121, has a high triple of 450, 456 I think that is, and Peter Flynn at 134 and 482. And,
of course, they have put together 4 straight wins. The odd thing about the last 3, though, is that they've all 3 been the same score, 365. They had a 400 in their first match, and they've scored 365 the last 3 weeks in a row. And oddly enough, 365 was the same score they qualified to get into the Tournament of Champions. So today they'll be going for win number 5 in a row, and they'll face our number 1 seeded team, a very formidable pairing indeed. From Plastow, New Hampshire, Gary Carrington. His partner from Nashua, New Hampshire, Joe Ashline.
Okay, and Gary averages 124, has a high single 195. Joe Ashline is 127, and I should mention both of them. High single 203 and a high triple 505, which I believe is a New Hampshire state record.
All right, so this shapes up to be a terrific match. Will it be 5 in a row for Godzyk and Flynn, or will it be the number 1 seeds holding their serve? We'll be back to settle it all here in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions right after these messages. Don't go away. All right, we are down to the championship match, and Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn have come all the way up from that number 5 spot, knocking off our number 6 team, and then the last 3 weeks they've added 3 more victims. Sanick and McKinley, Hart and Arnold, last week Fuller and Vadney, as for the first time in 4 weeks they had to come from behind to win a match. So now they go for 5 in a row against Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. Peter Flynn set the lead off the match here at the Londonderry Bowling Center. And I think the crowd's ready.
Triangle. 6, 9, 10 for Peter.
This is the first time here on Stars and Strikes Doubles that we've even had an opportunity for a team to win 5 matches in a row. As it would only happen, of course, here in the tournament. 10 bucks for Pete. It's unusual. Last week, Godzyk and Flynn had their poorest opening game in the 4 matches they've had here, a 116. But they bounced back after a 112 middle game with a 137 closing game to come from behind and win. The 7. Gary Carrington now. Gary was also in the singles Tournament of Champions 2 years ago. This is his first appearance in the doubles tournament. In the singles tournament back in 1991, he came in as the number 2 seed and lost a match to Pat Pay. For the spare? Yes. The runner-up team in this match will take home $600. The winners will split $1,500. The winners also, by the way, will receive a commemorative clock plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon. The runners-up get plaques also, and Gary Carrington with the 9 drop on the spare, looking at the single, the 5. Yes, the second mark. 2 in a row to start it for Gary Carrington.
Come on, Charlie.
Of course, Gary Carrington, Joe Ashline, Peter Flynn do a lot of bowling together on the world team. They're all teammates.
And they're currently the world champs, right?
That's correct. Again.
3 out of 5 years, or
Yeah, and 5 out of 9, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
They've dominated the event.
Chuck got a good break there. 3 pins coming back, and not such a good break there. Turn around.
Hey, Charlie.
And it'll be a 9 box.
All right, Charlie, start him right here. Come on, Charlie. Go, Charlie.
Have you ever
go.
seen a situation like this where the same team throws the same score 3 times in a row?
No.
Just miss, Charlie. Just miss. Get the X.
So it'll be 2 more open frames for the team of Godzyk and Flynn. And this is the latest they've gone in a match without a mark. Joe Ashline now. Joe won this title last year, our first doubles Tournament of Champions, with a different partner, with Steve Vadney. Just remember, for the purposes of our doubles program, the teams do not enter as teams. Bowlers enter individually. And Joe puts up a 3rd consecutive mark on top of the 2 that Gary left up there. And a little too good that time, right through the middle. 5 fill. In addition to being half of the winning team last year in the doubles Tournament of Champions, Joe has also appeared in the singles tournament twice, in 1990 and again in 1991. Lost a match each time. And there's the first open for the team of Carrington and Ashline, but the lead is 24.
Peter Flynn now for the 5th and 6th frames.
Still there, Peter. Still there.
Half Worcester right. And 2 more.
Yo, Pete, grab the O.
Two on each. 6 bucks. Still looking for that first mark. All the action on Our 1993 Tournament of Champions, presented by the folks at Tri-State Megabucks. Just imagine being rich. Tri-State Megabucks.
1 and the 2 left for Peter. Missed the head pin. Got a good break, though.
And hits it.
First mark for that team. Spare in the 6th.
And our participating sponsors. Somerville Lumber, where you can get it right the first time. Gagnon's Furniture of Hudson, New Hampshire, for all your furniture and flooring needs. And our new sponsors, Mattress Cloud of Manchester, Salem, and Nashua, your discount bedding store.
3, 6, 10 left for Gary for a spare opportunity.
No. Gary is a regular at Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill, Mass. Gary works as a pipe fitter for AT&T in North Andover. He and his wife Kathleen have 2 sons, 10-year-old Matthew and 4-year-old Michael. And a little full that time. Kicked out, kicked out the 6 and the 10 pins.
Well, if one of the 3 or the 10 had to go down, I'm sure Gary would have chose the 3. Makes it very difficult with the 2 and 3 both standing. There goes the 2. So it'll be 2 open frames. Chuck Godzyk will get a chance to fill that spare that Peter put up for him and cut into that lead. Lead now at 27, as you can see.
Come on, Charlie.
And he goes through the middle.
Just 4 on the spare.
Great watch, Charlie. That's the out, Charlie.
And the 10, nicely done. Concentration by Chuck Godzyk after what had to be a disappointment on the spare fill.
Come on, Charlie, time. Put it there.
Off target this time.
Still there, Charlie, still there. Got the out, Charlie.
And a nice 10, another one.
Really scrambling for the 10 boxes now, though. And not really getting a lot of spare setups to shoot at. Joe Ashline now. They have a mini slump here, too. 3 open frames after starting with 3 marks.
There's a solid 9 drop. Does it seem to you like every time Joe comes here, he's throwing harder than the time before?
I think the pins start shaking when they see him walk in.
The spare on the 5 pin. Off target, half Worcester left.
Make the shot, Joe. Make the shot. Make it count.
Maybe. Oh.
Almost converted the half Worcester for a spare.
We've still, in now over the 2 years, 9 weeks of competition in doubles Tournament of Champions action, have had only 2 400 triples. The one by Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney last year, a 401, and the 400 by Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn to start this year's series 4 weeks ago. That's kind of surprising.
Yes, it really is.
Almost for Peter.
Right, Peter.
And it's an 8. Just 84 through 9.
Get hungry up there, Pete. Get hungry up there.
A Brooklyn hit for Peter.
2, 4, 5, and 7.
For the spare. No.
That's it, Pete.
Keep waiting for that wood to settle. It appears that it'll rest against the 7-pin. That piece of wood generates a little more speed. It might take out the 7-pin even after all that time.
It's a 24-pin advantage. Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. Gary Carrington is facing two open frames. Can push that lead possibly up to around 40 if he was to throw 2 marks.
Four horsemen for Gary Carrington. Not quite on the 10-pin. 10 bucks, 110 through 9. Of course, we're wrapping up the season today here on Stars and Strikes, and want to wish you all a pleasant summer. And don't forget that starting next Sunday at 12 noon, we'll be rebroadcasting some of our better shows from this past season.
10-pin was really fighting to stand up.
Gary backed up all the way to the bench almost to urge that one to go down. And there's the spare in the 10th, 120 plus a ball. So the lead may go up over 30 here. It's at 26 right now. On the strength of the 5th mark for the team of Carrington and Ashline in this first game. And the fill will be 7, a 127. So it'll be a 33-pin advantage for Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline after game 1. We're back with game number 2. The Tri-State Megabucks 1993 Doubles Tournament of Champions continues in a minute. Joe Ashline will start this middle game for us. Well,
Ooh, big
that's
break.
a nice break.
I guess it is.
Went down and hit the 4-pin, and
1, 2, 3, 6 left. Piece of wood in between the head pin and the 2-pin. And he's going to get it from behind.
ho-hum! Textbook work there by Joe Ashline, huh?
Oh, wow. Just clipped the 6-pin from behind, and easy for me to say, and tripped it inside or forward to the 3-pin, and it's nothing but a routine spare.
Well,
Here we go again.
couple extras this time, a 5-drop. Joe's got his whole family here at Londonderry Bowling Center today. Wife Robin, oldest son Derek, youngest son Cody, who's almost 2 now. And they're expecting a 3rd child in August. Congratulations to the Ashlines. And it's a 9-box after the spare. 24 in the opening pair for Joe. Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn had just one mark in the opening game. Never really able to get anything started.
No, and really never had much to shoot at. Well, that's... Oh, there's the one to start with, and a difficult spare, too, with the wood facing him like that. Let's see how he converts that. Turns it, keeps a piece of wood in play for the 10-pin. Sometimes you need a break, something, or a difficult spare to make to get your team going.
Come on.
Well, let's see. They're still falling. It's a 7-drop. Talked about the fact that Joe Ashline paired with Steve Vadney to win last year's doubles tournament of champions. The team they beat, Jack Ray and Gary Carrington, who, if you'll remember, Dan, put on an incredible charge over the last 6 boxes. They trailed by 44 pins. They actually trailed by 50 pins with 6 boxes to go, Gary Carrington and Jack Ray, and they came back to lose by 3. They put 6 consecutive marks together, including a double strike at the end. They scored 118 pins over the last 6 boxes and lost by 3. This time Gary and Joe are on the same team, and they lead in the match so far. Right now by an even 30. And there's a big strike. I think Gary put his hands up as if to say, well, I've done all I can do. Tripping out the 4-pin for the strike. A little lane grooming.
Those little critters out there, or just maybe a little dust.
Well, let's see. Oh,
I can see it now. Everybody bowling in my leagues next week, they're out there with a towel, swinging the towels back and forth so they can get a 9-pin drop.
Wow. Gary knocked down 9 pins, and 6 of them are in front of the 9-pin. He's going to take a look, see if he can get through there anywhere.
I think if he takes a hard right just before the stop sign. You just got to go at that pin, maybe catch a little bit. Yeah, that was no problem there.
Spare on strike.
Get us down, Peter. Get us down. Right here, Pete. Come on. Need him right here, Pete.
Peter Flynn. Oh, everything but the 5-pin.
Will it go?
Which is still rocking. Wait a minute.
Hey, getting nudged it here.
Wait a minute. If it catches it, oh, it stood it up. If it had caught it, maybe going
Leaning
the other
backwards,
way.
sure.
Instead, it'll be a spare for Peter. That's mark number 3 for the team in the match.
I heard somebody in the crowd say, come on, Peter, you need a couple. I don't think they realize that you can't let a team like Carrington and Ashline run too far ahead. Oh, boy.
No. The 1-8-9. What a tough break.
Good work, Pete.
Just 3 on the spare.
A phrase that you don't want to hear with a third ball. Get a bunch.
Ooh. We'll take a break. The 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions title match continues in a minute. Joe Ashline. On a spare. Bounced that one a little bit. Joe's got it all figured out, though, I think. The head pin may not be necessary in all this. 7 fill. Not the easiest leave, however. The 1, 8, and 9.
Piece of wood that may be out of play, and I guess it is. Sissy is taking it out.
These are the 3 pins that Peter Flynn knocked out on his spare fill before that last break.
So what's your point? He should get these because he was watching?
Not quite.
Just like the 2 and 8 and the 3 and 9 are You take those out so many times when you have 10 pins up, but have those 2 pins standing. See how difficult it is to knock them down.
71.5, Carrington and Ashline, as they have padded their lead here in Game 2. Joe works for Time Electronics. He's a regular bowler at both Leda Lanes in Nashua and Pilgrim Lanes in Haverhill, and a little more mixing for Joe. This time the 3-pin remains. For the spare. And that is mark number 9
Go, Charlie, right here, Charlie.
for the team of Carrington and
Start
Ashline.
him, Charlie. Gotta start him.
9 out of 16 boxes. That's a torrid pace.
Oh, and Chuck Godzyk answers with a strike. 3 marks in this game for Godzyk and Flynn, all of them on lane 30. This one, the big strike.
Solve that lane 29 now. Tie some things together. Lead is now climbed to 48. And again, through the middle.
Hey, let's see it go. Come on.
A little better than Peter. Peter had 189 over there last time. Fortunately for Chuck, he's working on a strike.
Six, the fill.
Hey, get free.
And now a 7. So with Gary Carrington coming up and working on the spare left by his partner, the lead may very well go over 50 on this next ball. Oh, strike on spare. Make it 55.
You see, just tripping the 6-pin. Difference right now is that Joe Ashline and Gary Carrington are putting marks together. Strike spare in the 3rd, spare strike in the 6th and 7th. Almost a double.
Oof. And the spare, 20 more.
Say die, Peter. Come on.
Go, Peter, right here, fighter. Peter, never say die. Never say die, Peter. Let's go.
Way to go up there.
Peter Flynn. The 1, 2, and 10.
With some help.
Oh, yes. 4 marks in a row, but all on lane 30. They haven't had a mark yet in this game on lane 29. In fact, they've only had 1 mark the whole match over there. Oh, do you believe
Can
it?
you believe that?
Peter, come on.
This time you can't even steal the 189, just the 1 and the 9. Wow.
That can get you talking to yourself.
Yeah. You might not like the words.
You might be offended.
That's right.
Oh, that's a great 10 bucks. Boy, that is a terrific 10 bucks.
I don't know if you picked that up off my mic, but Peter came back and said, now there's 22 the hard way. You gotta have a sense of humor in this game.
Big first ball for Joe Ashline. This is on a spare. It'll be an 8 fill.
7-8, piece of wood in front of the 8. Can he fit it in the hole between the 7 and the 8, or is he gonna have to go far right?
We'll know shortly.
Whatever he does is gonna be a quick.
Now, Joe, I think, missed where he wanted to go that time, judging from his reaction. Carrington and Ashline with the 127 opening game. They'll be well over that in this game. They're 138 already, with a box to come.
And 265 already.
And Joe bounces it into the pocket. The 5-9. No. Just slipped by the 5-pin. It's a 10, a 148,
Charlie, right here. Ready?
and 275
Room, Charlie. Room.
through 2.
Big squad.
Chuck Godzyk.
Go, Charlie. Run him down.
4 horsemen plus the 5-pin. See. Nope. The 10. Hard to believe, but when we come back with you in the fall here on Stars and Strikes, it'll be our 10th season.
Okay, send it over.
Time just flies by when you're having fun. 3, 6, and the 4.
The 9, a 110, a 2-game total of 206 for Chuck Godzyk and 204 rather for Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn. The big lead for Carrington and Ashline. 1 game to go for the championship. We'll be back on Stars and Strikes Double. Peter Flynn and his partner, Chuck Godzyk, trailing by 71 pins coming into the 3rd and final game. There's a spare to start it. I guess you have to look at this as
Peter, drop him, time.
kind of as a basketball coach would, trailing by 30 or 40. You got to do it 5 or 10 at a time. You can't worry about the whole thing, but boy, it is really uncanny how how lane 29 has victimized both of them, especially Peter. His last 3 fills over there have been 2, 2, and 3.
And 2 of the 3 times he hit the head pin. That time he didn't, but the other 2 was 189 and 19.
Gary Carrington will lead off for our number 1 seeds. Four horsemen right plus the 7. $9. Well, Gary and Joe qualified for this event with a 407. They were the only team to qualify with a score in the 400s. And they are certainly on that pace right now. They had 275 after 2. Ooh, Gary trying to make it on the inside. Slip by. gets 2 for another 9. You brought up an interesting point about the scores in the middle game, Dan, after we went to that last break.
Yeah, I just mentioned the counting the marks up. It was 6 marks for Carrington and Ashline and 4 marks for Peter Flynn and Chuck Godzyk. However, the difference in the score was 38 pins. You gotta love those 20-pin marks. And the whole thing was the fills and, of course, pinning.
Well, Chuck and Peter aren't buying many breaks at this point either. They've had 6 marks in the match between them. That'll be a $9. The last 5 marks have all been on lane 30. They haven't had a mark on lane 29 since the first game.
Wow.
It continues.
This keeps up. We're going to come back to Londonderry Bowling Center, and there'll be only 31 lanes here. These two guys will have taken out 29. It's funny how that goes. It just a few inches here or there on your approach or something that makes you come in full. Something you're not doing on the other lane.
That'll be a $9 for Chuck. Joe Ashline. $6.10. Yes. That's mark number 12 for the team. And Joe clearing out an extra piece of wood. And he took out about 3 pins on the other lane, maybe 4. Well, when you're hot, you know, play both lanes at once.
Still had a bad break on that lane. He even come from the other lane.
Oh, not this time, though. Big 8-drop on the spare.
5-9 left, trying to make it 2 in a row. And a commanding lead. Not this time.
Going to be a commanding lead either way going into the final
regardless.
6 boxes. As Chuck and Peter haven't been able to make anything happen. A 10 for Joe, 46 through 4. And there's the picture with 6 boxes to go. Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline in the lead. Peter Flynn. Boy, if it starts to happen on lane 30 also.
You go to game plan B, and that's hoping maybe the tape will break. Get through this over again. Him cringing in the truck now. Don't say that, Dan.
$10. And through the middle again on 29.
I guess baseball players and TV people are probably the most superstitious people on the face of the earth.
You may be right about that. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've been burned too many times even on this show. I'm not going to say that this is over yet. I'm not going to say it. But let's just say it's comfy for Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. Most people would probably take an 80-pin lead with 6 boxes to go and then a strike on top of that for Gary.
Talk about superstitions. I was going to a Red Sox game one time with friends of ours, and There's this thing about pennies on the ground, if it's head up,
Right.
tail, you know. So she finds one, pin missing there in lane 29. And it was heads up, so we figure, oh, that's good luck. I says, yeah, either that or they'll have to use it for the fuse box if the lights go out. Sure enough, got to the game, Roger Clemens on the mound, and the lights went out. That's a true story. Marlene Broder will back it up because she's the one that picked the penny up.
Gary Carrington on the strike. There's the double. Well, after the re-rack, Gary Carrington throws the double strike. Somebody in the back just yelled, "Who is he?"
Well, we did say that they were teammates, right?
That's right.
Peter and when you get your teammate down, let's kick him.
Why not?
Well, it's a tough thing to stand and watch Peter and Chuck struggle as they have because they've bowled so well the last 4 weeks, and
You're right.
this game can just turn around and bite you sometimes.
It's an $8 for Chuck. Talking about the lights going out, I had an unusual experience a couple of months ago at the NCAA hockey regionals down in Worcester. At the Centrum, it's a full house, almost 13,000 people there between the first and second periods of one of the two games, and just out of nowhere, if you can imagine this, fully lit arena in a split second goes completely dark, and I mean pitch dark. There were for about 10 seconds there were no emergency lights on, no exit lights on. There wasn't a single light in the arena for about 10 seconds. It was an eerie
The day the world ended for 10 seconds.
Well, Joe Ashline will try and
Throw another one.
yeah for a triple strike. Let's see.
He's not letting up at all. He's still throwing as hard. 3-6, 4-7.
And $8.
Well, they don't need another mark for 400 if they pin well.
It's true. 125 will do it. We're running a little bit long here on our hour, so we may have to duck out a little bit before this match is completed, but we'll give you the final score when we come back to talk to the bowlers and award the prize money.
Go down and ask Chuck and Peter if it's all right. I think they'll probably agree with us. This week, yes. Joe continues to pile on. 107 through 8 with a spare up.
That's 15 marks for the team of Carrington and Ashline. Peter Flynn for his final two.
Yeah, just not to be today. Great run, though, by these two guys.
Terrific run.
And beat some great bowlers.
And really made it look easy in most of those matches. He really only had one close match coming down the end. 10 for Pete. But today is one of those days that they will not remember. Fondly, anyway.
Right.
Oh, and it goes right down to the end. Peter just turned around, and he's got a big smile on his face. You just can't believe it. That has been happening for both bowlers on lane 29 for this entire hour.
Only as good as your last box.
Well, as you've said many times, Dan, you have to keep your sense of humor.
That's right. The sun will still come up tomorrow.
That's right. An 88, 292 for Chuck Godzyk and Peter Flynn. Well, they broke their streak of 365s.
That's for sure.
And they did it in a big way, I would say. Gary Carrington Joe Ashline already at 382. Or a lock for 400 and probably more. 5 on the spare.
Gives him exactly 400, I believe. No, not quite. Yeah. Actually, a little more. No, I'm not adding right.
No, not yet. That makes it 122 through 9, so that's
Yeah, so almost there.
397.
Did I say almost there?
I thought you said or a little bit more.
Well, they'll get a little bit more.
Oh, need a little bit more. Okay, I understand. I understand. We're going to duck away as Gary Carrington finishes this last box. Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline, the winners of the 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. And we'll be back to talk to the bowlers and award the prize money in a minute. All right, we are back on the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, and on the way up here already. Oh, we got a whole bunch of people. Now, who gets the checks here? You guys, or okay? I'll tell you what. You can take that one and give him the one he needs. Peter Flynn and Chuck Godzyk, and a couple of guests here. Who are your guests?
Sean, Craig.
2 sons.
2 sons.
Okay.
Well, they named Sean and Craig because they were girls.
Well, I know that you'd rather talk about your sons than the match.
Right. Match. Oh yeah. Yeah. When you have 292 with 3 strings, I'd rather talk about my 2 girls here.
Well, obviously, we talked about all the great stuff that happened during the 4 weeks. Today, obviously, not so great. But what was it? Did you ever figure out what it was about lane 29? It was burning both of you.
Just right through the middle, can you say?
Boy, it was
We're on the head
unbelievable.
pin. We hit the head pin a lot. Just didn't get much to show for it.
All right, well, $600 for second place and a terrific run for you guys with the 4 wins. And glad to see Sean and Craig up here. Congratulations, and we hope to see both of you guys in the fall. Congratulations.
Well, I plugged back in for Grandpa's print.
There you go. You got it.
There you go.
You got it. We'll bill you later. Thanks, Pete. All right, come on up, Gary and Joe. Gary Carrington, Joe Ashline. We're going to have a couple of special guests here, too, I think. Equal time for the Ashline family. Congratulations, Joe. Congratulations, Gary. Nice job. That was one of those days, huh? Everything goes right. The other team can't put anything together. Easy pickings, I guess.
No, it's never easy pickings. We get lucky. I mean, it's bad to bowl on the other side. You know, every time they went, through the ball on the head pin, it went right through the middle. So, there's not much you can do.
Well, I'll let you introduce your 2 sons.
This guy here, he wants to bowl. This is Cody. He's going to be the bowler, and this is Derek, and Derek is the big brother.
And they're regulars here on Stars and Strikes. Now, what I want to know is how come you've never brought Robin up here during the check presentation?
I don't know. Well, she figures that she spends the money, so that's all she needs to do to get the check.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
It's $1,500 first prize money to be shared for both of you, and the bowling has already begun. And congratulations. Terrific job. I know you waited a long time for this chance, so congratulations. We'll see you again next season. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. And we will be back, of course, next season. But before we do that, we're going to close this thing out, and we have some final words from Dan Murphy, the big win, of course, for Gary Carrington, Joe Ashline. And obviously the match pretty much salted away early, but still it's something you got to finish doing. I mean, we talked about this earlier. We've seen large swings as much as 80 or 90 pins before.
Yeah, but against those 2 guys, it's just tough, and they just didn't have it. They were flat the whole match, and it's one of those days that you hope you don't have, but it happens.
All right. That'll about do it for Stars and Strikes Doubles for this season. We want to again thank all of you for being a part of it here on WNDS TV 50, and of course, don't forget all this summer we'll be rebroadcasting some of our better shows from the past season, both at noon and at 1 o'clock here on Stars and Strikes Doubles. And don't forget to join us in the fall. We'll be back to do it all over again. So until then, have a great summer, everybody. For Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Take care now.